Wrestling fans, Ghostbuster fans, and toy collectors alike, today we're joined by WWE Superstar and Internet Champion, Long Island IC, Zack Ryder. Zack, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing good, man. For listeners out there that are kind of unaware as to where you've been for the past little while, what's been going on with Zack Ryder?
Well, in early November, I tore my rotator cuff, which I think was just years of just wear and tear, you know, and my shoulder was bothering me for a while, and then one night I was wrestling Rusev, and that was it. And instead of getting surgery, I got a stem cell injection into my shoulder, which is they take bone marrow from my hip, do some blood spinning, and then inject it into my shoulder. And I did been rehabbing ever since, and made my return at the Royal Rumble. So I guess I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty damn close.
Good to hear. Now, what was it like returning at the Rumble? I mean, you and I were pretty much a year apart in age. I grew up loving the Royal Rumble. I mean, it's still my favorite match of the year. What's it like competing in the Royal Rumble?
I mean, like you said, I grew up watching Royal Rumbles. It was my favorite event, and you know, I didn't know I was going to actually be in the Royal Rumble until that day. I got cleared the day before, and you know, it's in Philly, and Philly is as we saw, is a die-hard town, so I wasn't sure what my reception was going to be. Do they still care about Zack Ryder? Do they even still remember Zack Ryder? So I was more nervous about how I'd be perceived from the audience, and luckily, the reaction was pretty damn good, so I can't complain at all.
Yeah, they popped pretty loud for that broski boot.
Yeah, I mean, you know, once it was the 10, 9, 8, you know, the whole countdown, I was like, I had goosebumps, I was nervous. I'm like, I hope they react, and luckily they did, and it just, you know, it fired me up to go out there.
So you've been a lifelong fan of the WWE. What really started? I know with a lot of people actually back in the 80s. I mean, the LJN figures, the old AWA Rimco figures, stuff like that was a huge thing. Do you think the toy collecting, the toys and the figures, kind of fueled your love for wrestling?
I definitely think so. I don't remember. You know, you always hear guys saying, "I remember my first match," or I don't remember anything. All I remember is my whole life. It's been revolved around wrestling. You know, I always remember having those LJN figures, like you said, and I just remember my whole life just loving wrestling. And I watched like old Christmas tapes, Christmas morning, and I'm opening up LJN, you know, figures, or being Hulk Hogan for Halloween. So wrestling has always been a part of my life for sure. And I think the figures definitely, you know, was just something I played with then as an adult, like collected. So they've been along for the whole ride too.
Is there a figure from the LJN series that kind of sticks out as probably your end-all be-all? Like, I know you're huge fans of guys like Macho Man Randy Savage, The Ultimate Warrior, and they were some of the best-looking design figures at that time.
Yeah, as a kid, I never actually had The Ultimate Warrior. I was so mad one of my neighbors had it. So we had like this, it was like a water gun action figure of the Warrior, so it kind of looked like an LJN. It was kind of the same size, so I used that instead. The Macho Man was my favorite one because you could do the elbow from either side. But all the LJNs were great, except for Rick Rude, who has his hands on his hips. I never really got that. Yeah,
I was about to mention him. I mean, the other great thing, too, with LJN was when they first kind of began, I mean, they definitely hit the key points with Hogan and Rowdy Piper, but they almost had like that Star Wars feel where Star Wars kind of made, you know, a figure of almost everybody. The WWE guys, I mean, they had S.D. Jones as one of their characters, which, I mean, at the time, he was pretty much just a developmental talent.
Yeah, and there's guys like Outback Jack. Like right now, I couldn't tell you an Outback Jack match I ever saw. But as a kid, I loved him. I had the figure, you know. As a kid, you know, you're having these figures, whether the guy's on TV or not, you can create your own little like federation, make your own champion. So that was always the best part about it as a kid. And nowadays, you know, now it's crazy. Now they make like the actual entrance ways, and they make all the title belts. Like when I was a kid, they didn't have like, you know, the entrance ways or guardrails and stuff like that. So it's crazy how things have evolved.
Now, were you one of those kids that you were lucky enough when you first got the figures that you had the gigantic LJN wrestling ring, or did you have to wait a little bit on that?
Like, I don't remember buying the LJNs in the stores. I know I had the ring. I remember I had the figures. I still have the originals all beat up and the paint all worn out and the fingers shoot off. I don't remember the exact order that I got them in, but I definitely had the ring and I definitely had the figures.
Now, recently, actually a few years ago, WWE did a feature on you about your collection, LJN, Hasbro, and all that stuff. When it came to the Hasbro collection, did you kind of adopt it right from the beginning? Because once again, you're at that age where, I mean, wrestling figures was kind of the thing. I mean, a huge deal for you. Did you collect them like right from the beginning, where they released the Warrior and Hogan and Andre and everybody in the first line?
Yeah, I remember I walked into it was like KB Toys, and I remember seeing all of Series 1 and like, what are these? And I picked them up, and those Hasbro's, those are my favorite. Those are the ones I remember actually finding like in the stores, and this is way before the internet, obviously. So you'd just be going to Toys R Us, and all of a sudden you see like the new set. You're like, what? It was crazy. And my LJNs and Hasbro's, I played with them as a kid, obviously, so they were all beat up. So once I had like a job, or once I worked in WWE and had some money, I actually went and like rebought them all. So I have them all like near mint to mint condition. Like they're not in the box, but they're all pretty mint, and they're just like Ziploc bags individually put in my closet. They're not on display or anything. It's pretty sad, but I have them all.
Do you have a favorite Hasbro figure?
My favorite Hasbro would have to be the 1-2-3 Kid, probably just because at the time when the line came out, he was impossible for me to get. I guess he was like short packed or something like that, so I didn't get him till much later. Like when I first discovered like eBay in like '97, he was the first thing I ever bought. I think I paid like $100 or close to $100 for him, which was like, I was probably in 7th or 8th grade, so that was a lot of money, to be spending on an action figure, but I needed it.
And at the time, they also had the blue traditional ring that people kind of knew, and almost everybody had on your block. And then there was also that limited King of the Ring ring.
Yeah, luckily there was just like this comic book store in like this local mall, and I just walked in one day and they had this yellow ring. I was like, whoa, what is that? That was like the beauty about these Hasbro's. Like I said, like just walking into stores and discovering these new items that I had no idea existed, no idea it was coming out. It was just crazy. And the bad part about that is like you hear all these like rumors about your friends would lie and say they found certain things, or for instance like Greg the Hammer Valentine, the Rhythm and Blues that was in all the Toys R Us like magazine ads. Like you never really knew if he existed or not because he's in the ad.
Exactly.
You never found him in the store, stuff like that. And
there was also that Shawn Michaels with like the separated legs where they were kind of further apart rather than together.
Yeah, and I think he does like the Virgil punch, like or the Jake the Snake punch in that figure.
Yep.
So stuff like that. You never really knew what was out and what wasn't.
Did you ever have any rumbles between the Hasbro and WCW's Galoob figures?
I did, it was awesome because they were almost exactly the same size, especially, when Ric Flair came over to WWF. Like, oh, well, I already have his figure. I had his Galoob, so it was just a perfect addition. Same thing with like Lex Luger. So it was cool, doing stuff like that.
Now, I collected all the WCW Galoob figures and everything, and then I remember getting the internet back in probably 97, 98, and finding out this whole new world that there was an entire UK series. Did you ever buy any of the UK exclusive figures?
Now I have them all, but at the time there was this comic book store that I'd always go to, and they had the UK figures, so I knew about them as a kid, but they were just like way too much money. Like my parents would never let me get them, but like I knew there was Big Josh, and I knew there was the Freebirds. So it always like ate me alive that I never had them as a kid. So I have them now, luckily. But those are some of the greatest figures. They're very, there's no articulation or anything, but they're very detailed, and they still they still hold up.
Well, not popular. I always thought that PN News prototype looked phenomenal.
Yeah, the PN News, I think is like a diamond stud. Like someone definitely has those somewhere. So I mean, depending on the price, I might spend some money on those.
Now, following the Hasbro line, it kind of went mute for a little while, and then the Jakks line came out.
Yeah, when those first came out, I kind of knew they were coming out because I think maybe that's when the internet was first started coming out. My friends had it, and I didn't have it, but like I saw like some pictures, so I knew they were coming out. But once I got them, they were at least the first couple sets were like garbage. They were made like terribly, and I remember them breaking, and the arms were loose, and the legs were loose, and like sometimes like it would be switched body parts. Like you'd have a Bret Hart with like a Razor Ramon arm or some weird stuff like that. And I'm like, these are garbage, and I returned them all. And then I think it was like the second or third series came out, and I'm like, I want them all back. So I had to rebuy them and eventually collected those. And I was pretty much obsessed with those Bone Crutches for sure.
Well, they even kind of made good on that, I guess, later on when they finally started doing their classic series, which, gave you the WrestleMania 12 Shawn Michaels and the Blue Blood Triple H. It seemed like they almost kind of went back and kind of fixed some of those errors with the original figures.
Yeah, I mean, the Jakks, they went from the Bone Crunchers to like the Titantron style, the R3. I mean, they had so many different style of figures, and they lasted for a long time. But the classics are great, but I think the new Mattels are, definitely the best wrestling figures ever made, for sure.
Well, we're about to hit on the Mattels. Now, the Jakks guys, though, that was kind of the first for you because, I mean, that was your first figure, right, with the Edgeheads?
Yeah, there was a 3-pack with me, Hawkins, and Edge, which was awesome. You know, my lifelong dream was to be in WWE, especially to have an action figure. So luckily, you know, I have a couple from Jakks, and yeah, for sure. I mean, I actually had the hand-painted prototype so, I mean, you can't take that away from me, you know, it's an awesome feeling.
So now the Mattel figure's out, and they're making these deluxe exclusive lines and figure sets and everything where you can get Zack Ryder with the, you know, your bandana and the glasses and the sick T-shirts and the Internet Championships. How did the Internet belt actually come about in terms of actually putting that on an action figure? Because, I mean, it's something that up until that point really was never recognized by the WWE.
Like you said, it wasn't really recognized by WWE. I had been using it on my YouTube show, which was pretty popular at the time, I'd say. And, you know, Mattel, they always, for the Elite figures, always like to add an accessory or added, like, paint, like, so for me, they wanted to add the title, but the person they had to ask for permission was me because it wasn't WWE. So I had to, like, sign, like, this professional letter saying I gave Mattel permission to use my internet. It was such a joke. I was like, yeah, of course you can use it, but it had to be official. So, I mean, they couldn't use like the YouTube logos and stuff like that, but essentially it's the exact title, which is awesome for me. You know, I feel like it's a battle. I didn't win the battle of getting it onto television, but I got it in an action figure form, so I'll take it, you know.
Was it about the same style in regards to getting the belt actually inside the, you know, the THQ or the 2K wrestling games?
I mean, that was something where it was just in the game, and like I don't remember even, you know, giving permission for that. It was just in there, and like they made a T-shirt of me where the Statue of Liberty's holding it. So like, I think they could have definitely made like money off that title if I were to use it on TV, or even if they were to make like the replica belts for the kids. Like I think at that time it could have been a hot item. I mean, now, I mean, nobody would want it, but then for sure, it definitely. I think there was a missed opportunity there.
Now, I've looked on your Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff, and you have posted so many images of custom-made fan figures that they've either sent you or they've just submitted to you. Do you have a favorite or any memorable ones that kind of come to mind?
Yeah, there's one of me in this Ghostbuster gear that I wore one time. Apparently, I was supposed to get it as an actual Mattel figure, but there was some sort of, you know, copyright issue because the logos are blatantly stolen from Ghostbusters, you know. So something didn't happen, you know. So I was kind of all disappointed about it. So I had some fan, you know, who I knew was awesome at customs. He made it for me the way it was supposed to look, and it turned out great. So it has all like the Ghostbusters logos, and you know, the ghost is doing the L lines and spiked hair. It's pretty cool.
Is there a reason that the actual Ghostbuster outfit that you wore on Monday Night Raw, was it like a one-off? Like, is there a reason that we haven't seen it for a second time or used on any of the other shows?
Yeah, there was some controversy, like I said, because it's very similar to the logo. It's kind of like exactly like a blatant ripoff,
yeah.
You know, where it wasn't enough to be a parody, or I don't know the exact legal rules about it, but I was kind of told never wear this again.
Well, the original, like I guess the altered logo, we'll say, the broski design and the headband and everything, wasn't that originally fan made as well?
Well, that logo was kind of like drawn by me, who I gave to someone to make better. You know what I'm saying? So it was that was mine. You know, it was like I had these ideas in my head. I can't put them onto paper. So I'm like, hey, so I sketched something up here. Can you draw this? And then they drew that, and that was eventually on my gear, and then that was eventually like on my YouTube show, and then that was eventually on my shirt. So like it was a transition.
Now, aside from wrestling figures and obviously Ghostbusters, which we're about to touch on, is there anything else that you collect in terms of figures? I mean, obviously growing up in the 80s, early 90s, Ninja Turtles, Thundercats, Transformers, Star Wars, so many things come to mind. Is there anything else that we can find in Zack Ryder's collection?
I mean, currently right now, I do have like the Playmates Ninja Turtles. I do have the Kenner Real Ghostbusters. Obviously, just like every kid my age had those as a kid. But again, I rebought them later as an adult because like I need things in like perfect condition. So like I bought these figures like in the box just to open them, just to put them in like Ziploc. It's in a weird obsession, but yeah, I have them. I have the Firehouse Ecto-1. I have, the sewer. I have, I got it all. I shouldn't say I have it all. I have what I consider the essentials. But yeah, I have the Ghostbusters. I have Ninja Turtles, and I'm really into the Funko Pop vinyls right now. So that's kind of that's kind of addicting. That little habit of the pop vinyl started as just a couple guys. Now I have like 70. So I better stop making those soon.
Also following you on Twitter, I've noticed a kind of a bromance between you and Dennis Haskins, Mr. Belding from Saved by the Bell.
Well, I mean, I'm a huge Saved by the Bell fan. In fact, Zach from Zack Ryder actually came from Zach Morris.
Yeah.
So I got to thank Mark Paul Gossa for that. But yeah, when I was doing that YouTube show, I wanted to have Mr. Belding on, Dennis Haskins, and turned out the Miz is friends with Dennis. So he put me in touch and got him on my YouTube show, and we've been buddies ever since. I actually hung out with him on New Year's Eve, and it was funny because the girl that I brought, she's like, "Oh my God, it's Mr. Belding!" Like totally forgot about me for a second. Like wanted to picture with Belding. It was pretty funny.
Now, were you a Kelly, Lisa, or Jessie girl growing up? Let me rephrase that.
Yeah. I mean, definitely Kelly. And if you saw that Jimmy Fallon special, I mean, she still looks smoking, pregnant and all. She looks beautiful.
All right, now we're going to change the subject over to where a lot of our listeners are waiting for, Ghostbusters. Love Ghostbusters. Once again, did you find it as the original film? Did you watch the cartoon first, the real Ghostbusters? Where did Zack Ryder love kind of originate for the Ghostbuster franchise?
I was so young. I don't remember if I saw the cartoon first or the original film first. I know I was obsessed with both around the same time. Which one came first, I don't think really matters. I mean, I wore out that VHS tape that I had. I had all the toys. I had, the jumpsuit. I had everything. I had the proton pack. I was obsessed. And, a lot of people hated Ghostbusters too, but I love Ghostbusters too, And then, as an adult, that's when, or maybe like in high school is when I started, my love for Ghostbusters really, took on when I started watching it again and picked up on all the adult jokes. I was like, whoa, this movie is great on a whole nother level.
Exactly.
So like I loved it as a kid, and then now loving it as an adult, it's like, it's unbelievable. And if I ever have kids, I mean, hopefully they'll love it too.
Well, a lot of people saw you recently on Toy Hunter, where you picked up the Ecto Charger / Slime Blower, whatever you really want to call it there. Did you have a massive collection as a child of Ghostbuster memorabilia? Yeah,
I mean, I think I might have had all, if not pretty damn close to every Kenner Ghostbusters toy that was out as a kid. I mean, I had everything, but then I don't know why. Sometime this year, I'm like, hey, it would be cool if I bought like the Firehouse and the original 4 guys. Well, let me get Slimer and the Marshmallow Man too, and let me get the Ecto one, and let me get the Ecto 1A. It just kept growing and growing and growing. And then I needed that slime blower, Ecto, or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
Ecto Charger pack, I don't know. And luckily I was able to get it on Toy Hunter and get to be on TV for it, so pretty damn cool, right?
Exactly. Now, recently with the 30th anniversary, and even kind of before that, Mattel grabbed the line back in about 2009 and started cranking out, action figures, and recently the prop line. Did you buy into any of that at all?
Yeah, I have everything, which I'm kind of mad about because I had to buy like 17 Peter Venkmans, it feels like, but I couldn't get, the Terror Dogs. I'm like, come on, let's do a little trade here. That line was really cool, but it just bummed me out how they didn't make everybody. And they're only a few people away, and I don't know why, they just decided, hey, we're not going to do it, but we'll give you like 20 Peter Venkmans, But I have them all. I have the prop replicas. And I would say but in October I placed an order for like a proton pack, like a real, like I guess it's like the Hero, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
So that should be coming any day now. It's supposed to take 2 months. It's been about 4, but pretty soon I'll be the owner of a proton pack, which will be pretty exciting. I'll take some Instagram pictures and a video, and then probably just keep it in my office doing nothing. I mean, what are you going to do with a proton pack, right? But it'll be pretty cool.
So as I mentioned, this past year, the 30th anniversary, they had a lot of celebration. The film came back in the theaters. There was a rolling art show across the United States. Did you hit up any of those events? Yeah,
I saw it in the theater for sure because I was born in 85. I never got to see it in the theater, so I definitely saw it in the theater when I had the opportunity to. I went to the traveling art show, which was awesome. It was really cool. I had to drag one of my friends who was like, wait, there's a Ghostbusters art show. I'm like, yeah, don't worry, I'll buy you lunch. Just come with me. And that was really fun. I bought a couple posters that I have hanging in my apartment. But yeah, like, I feel like finally Ghostbusters getting the recognition it deserves. I mean, let's not talk about the third movie. I'm not too happy about that.
Well,
but, yeah, it's so cool that like I can walk into a store right now and like buy like Ghostbusters T-shirts. Like it's just nuts.
And recently, obviously, I mean, you said you were a huge fan of the pop vinyls from Funko. Have you collected those as well? I'm guessing, obviously, the answer is yes, with the Ecto-1 and Stay Puft and everything, but I'm assuming you have?
Yes, I mean, I had pretty much all of them. There's some of them I didn't get. Like, there's a lot of glow-in-the-dark ones that really don't need to be glow-in-the-dark. Like, I don't need the red Marshmallow Man who also glows in the dark. Like, I don't need some of those, you know? And I think there's a Ecto-1 with Egon that's, like, sprayed in the slime. I didn't get that one either. But I got everything else, and that's kind of what introduced me to the Funkos was, whoa, these Ghostbuster things are cool. And I'm like, oh, they make other things? And then that's what kind of spawned, like, my whole collection.
Now, you said not to mention it, but I got to mention it. Next year, 2016, Ghostbusters, directed by Paul Feig. It looks like it's going to be reality, all-female cast. Where do you stand? I know online, you know, we post something on our Facebook, Twitter, what have you. It goes a rage with people, just people hating on it. And some are very logical statements. Other ones are just out there. Where do you stand on the reboot, we'll call it, of Ghostbusters?
I mean, obviously, I wish this would have come years ago with the original cast, and unfortunately, that can't happen. So, I mean, I guess I'd rather there be no third movie than this. But, I mean, I don't want to hate on it just in case they call me up and want me in a cameo or something. No, I'm just kidding. But, I mean, I want to be one of the guys who's going to, I hate this, I'm not going to go see it. But at the end of the day, I know I'm going to see it. So I guess I just got to hold my judgment until I actually watch it, you know. It's never going to be the same as the original, but maybe it can open up eyes for more people to watch the original, and Ghostbusters franchise gets bigger and bigger. Who knows?
So, Ryder, like I said, the reboot, we're getting so much hate on our social media. How does Zack Ryder deal with hate on Twitter and Instagram and everything? Because some people love you, the majority love you, but there's, you know, a minority out there who they just want to crap on everything.
I mean, I really don't mind it. Sometimes, like, people actually make me laugh, like, legit, like, LOL, like laugh out loud, and it's funny. Like, sometimes I'll retweet, like, an insult if it's really funny. Some people are, like, annoying, and, like, they're just tweeting the same thing over and over and over and over and over. Like, that can get annoying, but if someone doesn't like me or someone insults me, like, that's fine. Like, that comes with the territory. You know, you're not going to be loved by everybody, so it's fine. Like I said, sometimes it actually entertains me, so keep on insulting me, I guess. I mean, if it's funny.
So we're not too far away also from WrestleMania 31, live on the WWE Network. What would Zack Ryder's WrestleMania moment be?
I mean, as of now, the only WrestleMania moment I have, I ran in during, like, Edge and Undertaker, the main event, which is cool. Like, I ran in the main event, but I really had nothing to do with that, you know? And then I was in the Team Teddy versus Team Johnny match a few years ago and got kicked in the nuts by Eve. That wasn't really the best moment. But, I mean, at least it was something, you know? So if I can get on the WrestleMania card again and in a match that somebody cares about, like, I know I would love to wrestle someone like Dolph Ziggler. And, you know, right now, the goal right now is to get back onto Raw, get back onto SmackDown, get back onto the regular pay-per-view, and then eventually, you know, I got to be realistic. Right now, it's February. I'm not doing anything. The chances of me being on WrestleMania this year are probably slim to none. But next year, it's very possible. So hopefully soon, get back on, you know, the main show and just show everyone what I'm capable of, and show everyone a different side of Zack Ryder. And hopefully by next year's WrestleMania, you know, we can do another interview about what my WrestleMania moment's going to be.
And with the Ryder character that you portray on television, I mean, for the longest time it was always, you know, the woo woo woo, you know it, take care, spike your hair. At a turning point there, it seemed like you were almost like the internet were thinking that you were kind of going to turn heel from some of your YouTube promos and stuff like that. Was there any reason that really didn't pan out?
Well, I mean, like the Long Island, like Broski, all that stuff, like, and then it kind of became like almost like a goofball character from the YouTube show, you know, where the YouTube show was supposed to be funny, it was supposed to be goofy and self-deprecating and stuff like that, but sometimes on television, it would put me in roles that I didn't necessarily want to be in, like almost too goofy, or being in a wheelchair with a neck brace and a cane. Like, so I had once the YouTube show ended, I realized I needed to change. I stopped with the headband, stopped with the glasses, stopped being so goofy. I can't like turn heel. Like the fans are what keeps me going. So I'm not going to turn my back on the only thing that actually supports me. So. Am I going to be a little more serious? Absolutely. But does that mean I'm going to necessarily turn my back on the fans that got me to where I am? Like, no way. So if given the opportunity, will I be more serious in the ring? Yeah, sure. But that doesn't necessarily mean like I'm a bad guy or I'm going to be fully changed who I am. Just maybe not be as goofy. Maybe not, like, obviously I haven't been wearing the headband or glasses in a year or two. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about, in wrestling, it's all about just changing with the times and evolving. And no character is going to be exactly the same for the whole length of their career. So just another chapter of Zack Ryder in this book. So, and there's a lot of chapters left, well, hopefully.
Now, there's been a lot of talent that's kind of gotten anew by being sent to NXT. And now with NXT apparently going to become almost a touring brand. Would Zack Ryder ever be up to going maybe to NXT and maybe, honing the craft a bit and maybe altering the character a little bit?
I mean, at this point, I'm not really against anything. NXT is great. I wouldn't mind going down there for a little bit and just maybe opening up some people's eyes again. Like, someone like Tyson Kidd did that, for example. He went down there. Now he's on the roster, and people, he didn't just like get good all of a sudden. Like, people just realized it all of a sudden.
Absolutely.
So I'll do whatever it takes to open people's eyes.
And tonight we've got the NXT event on the WWE Network. Is there anybody in NXT that you're looking at right now that you could see 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road headlining at WrestleMania?
I think a lot of the NXT guys are incredible, and especially on these pay-per-view or special events they have, they just go all out. So, guys like Tyler Breeze, I think he has a great thing going on right now. And then I'm a big fan of Big Cass and Enzo. So, but all those guys down there are going to do great. It's by design. You go there, you hone your craft, and they're making names for themselves. They have action figures in the video game. They have merchandise. So good for all those guys.
Now, for people who've just been living under a rock, where can they keep up to date with all the Zack Ryder news?
All the Zack Ryder news for now. Just follow me on Twitter, Zack Ryder, @Zack Ryder. Instagram, if you want to see pictures of my collection or things I'm eating or weird things, just it's ZRyder85. And keep turning this to WWE, so hopefully I'll be back on Monday Night Raw very soon. This is WWE Superstar, the Long Island IC, Zack Ryder, and you're listening to GhostbustersNews.com. Woo, woo, woo. You know it.